That CPI increase from 1970 to 2020 is 400%, okay? 400% versus only an 80% increase in wages, okay? And so there's been this huge disconnect for our generation, and I think it's important that baby boomers know this and see this. But these are not luxury items anymore, and I think he makes a very great point to that. All right, and welcome in to another episode of CFP Reacts, where I, your host and your certified financial planner, reacts to the best and worst financial advice in social media. And so I'm so glad that you joined me today. And in today's video, I'm gonna be breaking down a reaction to a video from Freddie Smith on YouTube here, where he breaks down from an article where baby boomers are giving millennials grief about luxury items, TVs, computers, video games, things like that, things that are deemed as luxury items. And so, we're all feeling the cost and the inflation, the rising cost of everything here the last 4 or 5 years has been pretty extreme, as we all know, and we've all felt that. And so this is a really great breakdown of why that is, why it is, and then also, to be fair, why baby boomers are seeing our generation, the younger generations, as spendy, as frivolous and crazy spenders, and just totally irresponsible with our finances and things like that. That's not necessarily true, and this is going to be a great breakdown. So let's go ahead and jump right into it.
The reason the boomers give us shit about buying luxuries is because back in the 80s, luxuries were expensive, but life was cheap. Now it's been inverted. Our life is expensive, but our luxuries are cheap. So I think this is where the disconnect's happening. For example, in 1980, you could rent a great apartment for $200.
By the way, I was born in 1985, so 1980 would be a little bit too old for millennials, but for the numbers to be equal, and at least, for the data to be accurate, it's a good starting point.
$100, but a television would run you $1,000. So if you bought 3 TVs, that would be $3,000. A CD player was $500. A cell phone was $2,000. A personal
CD player, $500. Okay, that's crazy, right? This was back when manufacturing costs were way higher than they are today, and so things like a CD player be $500, right? Hard to believe, but it was true.
A personal computer was $2,500.
And by the way, also that's $500 in 1980. Okay, that's not factoring in the rise of inflation from that. So it would be more like the equivalent of $1,500 or $2,000 today.
$2,500, and a microwave was $500. That's $8,500. That is 3.5 years rent on luxuries. And $8,500 was also equivalent to a 20% down payment on a $40,000 home. So it was irresponsible if you didn't budget correctly to buy all these luxuries, because it could be holding you back. But today it's flipped. Our biggest luxury is our rent for $2,000. We can now buy 3 televisions for $600. We have a Spotify account, cell phone for $1,000. You can get a computer for $500, a microwave for $200. That's about $2,400 a month. So our luxuries is about 1 month's rent, where theirs was 3.5 years rent. And if you want to put this onto a down payment, even if you took the average home of $420, let's bring it down to just $3.
And this is, I think, a pretty awesome comparison, right? And part of this is in the reason why these numbers are so dramatic, right? He breaks down, you're talking about 3.5 years of rent versus 3 months. I mean, it's mostly because of the incredible rise of housing cost, rent and real estate prices versus the rise of wages, right? The rise of income and earnings has not kept up with the rise of housing costs over time. And so there's been this huge disconnect where our take-home pay, money that we earn, we pay taxes, and then we take it home relative, and then spend on housing relative to what it was in 1980 is far greater than the rise of our incomes, has not kept up.
Down to just $320,000, a 20% down payment on that is $64,000. So if you gave up all those luxuries, you would still owe like $61,000. This $2,400 of luxuries wouldn't even cover your closing cost of $10,000 on that home. So the whole thing's been flipped. So I think when they see us with the TVs, the avocado toast, and the cell phone, they think that's the reason we can't move forward. But why we can't move forward is because housing, daycare, college, and healthcare is so expensive, but those are our necessities. These luxuries are just...
Yeah, that's a great point, and I agree completely. You think about these luxuries and things like that. Millennials, we can get ahead, okay? We can get ahead. Shameless plug, work with me, I'll help you. Working on a budget, making sure that we're investing and continuously saving month after month after month and growing our wealth and investing in the stock market is the way that we are getting ahead, and it is working. But these are not luxury items anymore. And I think he makes a very, very great point to that.
Are just fun little things that we have. And the reason the boomers give us shit about buying.
Yeah, so we'll stop right there. Now, one thing to note as well, here's a quick statistic for us, okay? So in 1970, okay, 1970 to 2020, okay, let's just keep that nice and even. So for 50 years, and this does, so in 2020, that doesn't include all the inflation that we've seen since 2020, which has been substantial, okay? So from 1970 to 2020, those 50 years, we've had an 80% increase in the average annual American take-home income, okay? 80% increase, so money we earned in 1970 versus 2020, that has gone up by 80%, okay? By comparison, the rise of cost in goods and services as measured by this fancy thing you'll hear out there called CPI, and all that stands for is the Consumer Price Index, okay? And this index tracks the cost of goods and services that we use on an average basis. I'm talking about average Americans here, okay? That CPI increase from 1970 to 2020 is 400%, okay? 400% versus only an 80% increase in wages, okay? And so there's been this huge disconnect for our generation, and I think it's important that baby boomers know this and see this, right? And so there's a reason why so many of us out there are feeling squeezed. We're living paycheck to paycheck. There's a lot of reasons for that. Some of it is just a lack of financial knowledge or lack of budgeting and things of that nature. And yes, there are plenty of people out there that are spending too much and things like that. But for a lot of us out there, it's just because of these numbers and this data in the world that we live in, and the rise of education, the cost of transportation, the cost of just simple living has just gone up so much. And our parents, the baby boomer generation, has benefited from this tremendously, mostly in real estate value increases. Now, the homes that were purchased in the 1970s and 1980s are worth far more now and have grown at a far greater pace than the rise of the average American take-home pay, okay? So anyway, I hope you guys got a lot out of this. If you hung with me this long, please like and subscribe to my channel, and please, in the comments below, let me know what you think. I would love to hear from baby boomers and millennials on this one. And also, please let me know of any future topics you'd like me to react to, and I will get the job done for you. All right, my friends, stay healthy and stay awesome. I'll see you in the next one.